Okay, in this video here, I want to explain the process by which students should be going through to understand physics, right? It should apply to most classes, but it applies especially in physics. So if you've been struggling this year, part of what I'm seeing is that we're not applying this process, and I don't know if I was explicit in stating this process up front, so I wish to do so right now. So the process that I'm talking about is essentially a 5-step process. And most students get to step 1, possibly step 2, and then they go, I don't understand what's going on. If there's 5 steps and you're stuck on step 2, well, you need to move to step 3. So let's talk about the steps. So step number 1 is essentially what you guys think of as school. It's getting the information. Yeah, it can be pretty bad. By information, I mean you're sitting here getting information by me talking to you guys. You're looking at the notes, you're reading a book, you're watching videos, you're researching stuff online. Information can come from literally anywhere. And that's one of the biggest switches that schools have gone through this year with COVID, is that students think that this is all of school. Like, this is school, give me the information and then I will understand. That's not school. Never has been. Back in the day, back in like the 1800s, the teacher was where you got the information from. They're the ones that had books. They're the ones who knew what was going on. So the teacher was the reservoir of information. That has long since passed. Okay? I can give you a place to start. I can give you information. I can spoon feed it to your mouth. But that's only step 1. Understanding does not happen there. Then comes step 2, your application. In application in this class, I'm really talking about your audits and your reviews, right? I'm just going to write audits here. That is where you actually sit down and try to apply this information to particular situations. Now, honestly, when you guys do this, I want you to get a bunch of questions wrong. Because first of all, audits aren't worth a grade. But second of all, when you get things wrong, that's what's going to lead you to a greater understanding. So, step 1 is getting the information. Step 2 is the application of this. I have a lot of students at step 1 and they refuse to take step 2. They're like, well, I don't understand everything. I know you don't. That's why I need you to take the step. All right. Once you get stuff wrong, then we can move forward. Getting things wrong is not a bad thing. It's okay to be wrong. The only problem with being wrong is where you refuse to change your mind once you have better evidence. So what is step 3? Step 3 is the most critical step. Step 3 is going to be your metacognition. I'm just going to write thinking. And I don't mean, thinking while you're doing the problems. I mean, you have done the audit, you have at least submitted it once, okay? Step 3 occurs after that. What you do during step 3 is you look at the things you got wrong, okay? You shouldn't really pay that much attention to the stuff you got right, because you got it right? So you look at the problems you got wrong, and those problems should basically fall into 2 categories. The first category being, you made some simple mistake, and now that you're looking at it a second time, you're kind of kicking yourself for that mistake. It could be a simple mistake as writing like 23 in your calculator versus 32. Like, you're not sure how you made that mistake, but here we are. Or you said velocity when you answered speed. Okay? Those are things that are simple mistakes, and I'll be honest with you, they're never going to completely go away because you guys are human. You're always going to make some little mistakes. Right? Getting 100 in any class is dang near impossible, not because the material is hard, but because you have to make no mistakes. So the first category of stuff you got wrong is just stuff you basically understand, but you just made simple mistakes. Okay, well, those questions you can fix on your own. Then comes the second category, those sets of questions where you just have no clue. Now, some of them you may have answered nothing as your answer. Like you just left this thing blank. I have no idea. That's okay. But you attempted it, okay? Because the problem here is if I have so many students that aren't willing to do this because they're like, I don't know the answer. Okay, but you have to confront the fact you do not know the answer. You have to confront it. I can sit up here and do problems all day. It's not going to help. Once you confront the fact that you don't know it, now you can ask for help, okay? So step 3 is thinking about these problems, metacognition, thinking about your thinking. What the heck was I thinking during this? You think about what's going on here, so you think about that, and you divide it into 2 categories, right? Easy versus no clue. Now that you've got your questions, comes step 4. Asking the teacher. Or I'm just going to put asking questions. And so literally, in order to get to step 4, you have to have done this other stuff. Because now that you have questions, you're like, okay, number 15, I have no clue. Show me what's going on here. Or you answered it, and you thought you did right, and you got it wrong. You're like, okay, I don't know what's going on here. Please explain. Asking questions is where you're going to get the most understanding, but you can only ask questions once you've done the steps before. So asking questions is very critical, and there's very many times you can ask questions. The first, in this particular class, you can ask questions physically in class. If you're physically coming to class and you're here, ask a question. That's fine. I want questions. You can also ask questions during tutorials. My tutorials are listed online. They're posted as an announcement. So you can always come to those. But one of the most overlooked places to ask questions is in these discussion boards for the class. Each set of notes will have a discussion board attached to it. I want you guys to ask questions there. And I know part of the problem is that people don't want to look dumb. None of y'all know what's going on. If you did, you wouldn't be in this class. Okay? So, it's okay to get things wrong, but it is not okay to sit there in your ignorance. Okay? You've got to ask questions when you don't understand. Because once you ask the question, once you go, okay, I don't understand this, you are true to yourself. You say, I don't understand this. Then your brain will be primed for a good explanation. And then you'll ask questions. Okay? You'll ask questions and then I can explain them. And since you're ready for the answer, you receive that in a different way than you would if you were just getting information here. A lot of students, number 1 and number 4 looks the same to them. Well, it looks the same if you haven't done these steps in between. And then comes step 5. This is repeat. 18? I don't know. I definitely misspelled that. I don't know. Repeat steps 3 and 4. So you repeat steps 3 and 4 as many times as necessary. Now, step 5 could take a while, okay? So some students are like, well, when do I stop? Basically, you stop 5 when you're satisfied, right? Some of you will not stop until you have all of your questions answered, which is ideal. But some of you don't care that much. You're like, well, just give me to a 70. Okay. Well, ask enough questions that you can get to that point, right? But this is the problem here. I have so many students that get this and assume they're going to get 100. That's never going to happen. You guys have to engage. And so we have all sorts of information. We have videos. We have the book. We have notes posted. That's step 1, okay? Then we give you guys these audits to allow you to think about this information, right? Different ways to apply it. Then you're going to get stuff wrong. You should, right? I get stuff wrong all the time. Then you look at what you got wrong, okay? And decide, okay, can I fix it or can I not fix it? If you can't fix it, ask questions. So you don't just have to ask them to me. You can ask them to each other. Y'all guys do that all the time. That's a good way to figure out what's going on. But you have to ask questions. If you don't ask questions, then we're just lost. Okay? And so this is the process that should be occurring through each, either notes, each section. I have so many students that don't do this part here or step 3. If you don't do number 2, everything else is lost. If you don't do 3, it doesn't matter if 4 occur. Okay? You have to think about what you're doing. And so this is a basic process that you guys should be going through. I feel like in every class. Obviously I explained it, in particular for this class. And so for here, like this particular question here doesn't mean anything to you. You see this question in the background, it says during filming of the motion picture, blah, blah, blah. I can explain to you right now exactly how to do this problem. But it only matters if you have a stake in the game. And this is true of so many things of human nature. That's why when we do labs, we make you guys write hypotheses, right? If you don't have a hypothesis, then who cares what the outcome is? When you guys do a lab, if I grade your hypothesis, I'm not grading it because I think it should be right or wrong. I don't care. Your hypothesis is what you think. And if you guys don't commit to something, commit to getting it right, commit to getting it wrong, you've committed to nothing. And nothing after that point matters. Number 2 is one of the most critical steps, and I have a lot of students that are not engaging in that. Now, some of you definitely are. This isn't a criticize. What I'm trying to say here is I want you guys to realize this actual process that you should be going through to learn this information. Because information does not equal understanding, right? I don't know how many times I can say this. The information does not equal understanding. Simply having all of the information in your world, in the entire world, in your pocket, does not mean that you understand what's going on, right? And there's so many things in today's society that I could go into about this. But the way you get to understanding is taking a stand, right or wrong, taking a stand about a piece of information, and then thinking about that, thinking about the criticism that people are asking you when you do that. So in this class, your stand is going to be your application. It's going to be the audits. And then whether you get them right or wrong, you got to think about those wrong questions. You got to think about those negative things and go, okay, what does this mean? Does this have any validity to it, right? If you're not doing the thinking part, then you're not getting it. And so I apologize for not doing this earlier in the year, but I want to be very explicit about what you guys, or the process, you all should be going through to learn.